Okay, so this is a quick tutorial on Module 5 for GIS in petroleum. In here you can see I've launched Carlson, which is basically AutoCAD, and I'm sitting here spinning my wheel in here to zoom in and out. AutoCAD has similar functions that GIS has, and that it has some additional things that it can do, such as down here you will see you can type in commands, and those commands can do things for you. Now, one of the things that you see is I have some contours on here. I don't have the best of contours, but I'm going to turn on a quick little menu here, and I suggest you do that. I'm going to right click up here into this area and so show menu here. Actually, I'll just go to Carlson right here, and I'm going to go to layers. And in the layers you have some really good layer commands, and it just allows you to turn layers on and off by selecting them. So I can freeze a layer, which just means turn it off by just clicking on it, and there that layer kind of disappears. If I want it to come back, I can hit restore layers, and then that layer will come back on. Now, one of the things to do is to have a layer turn on. You might have to do it manually, and you can see here's the layer you're in. I want to make sure that you're in the right layer and that you have pad turned on. If you don't, you want to turn on pad, and it might mean that you have to either unfreeze it or something. So I froze, turned off contours here, CTR, so I want to make sure that that's on. Now what I'm going to do is I have here where I've designed, and I'll freeze it again and just turn it off. Let's do that. And here I have the area that I'm building for Elf Energy, our 640 acres. I've put my surface here, my penetration first take, and my last take point down here. Later on I'll bring that into a plat. Down below what you have is your model space that you work out, and then your layout views, very similar to your GIS software from that scenario. So I'm going to just go back to my model space here, and I'm going to turn the contours back on, and so it'll unthaw those. I don't want these purple lines, which are my 10 lines. I'm going to click off those and just click on them and make them disappear. And I'll get rid of the white lines here as well. But here is the surface location, and I'm in the layer pad. So what I want to do is draw a pad. So you can hit escape here, and I could just say P line, okay, and hit enter, and it says where do you want to draw it, and I can go here. If it's, see that red box is trying to snap to the line there, you could snap to the line, that's fine. I'm just going to draw a quick rectangle, come over here, and to close it I could come up here and snap onto it, or I can hit C for close, and you can see C shows up down here, and I just hit enter and it closed. Now I have a closed polygon. If I click on it, it has the nodes all around it showing it's a closed polygon. So that's my pad. I could have it to where, you know, I go in and design a pad that's a certain size, say 5 acres. I could type in the word rectangle and then come in here, say rectangle, and then it says spell it right, tangle, and then go in there and say, oh, my first point's here, right? And I can start to draw it, or I could give it dimensions, you know, so I could say, okay, it's 466 by 466, which is like 5 acres from that standpoint. But I'll hit escape there and just escape, and you can hit escape multiple times if you're inside of a command. But I'm going to go ahead and design a pad here, so I'm going to hit design, and I'm going to go up here to design a pad. Alright, so for the design pad, I'll use a lot of the stuff here. I'll leave just as the default and hit OK. It's going to ask me to pick my polygon that's going to represent my pad. I'll click that polyline right here. It'll need that 10 file that you need to also download, and that's that WellPad 10 file, so it'll use that triangulation file, so I'll click that right there. So now it's going to ask me what slope do I want to make my pad. So you imagine you have a pad and you might be cutting into a hill or actually building up some area from that scenario, and I'm going to need a ratio. A 2-to-1 ratio is for every 1 foot out you go 2 foot down. It's just very common, so we'll just keep that. And on the cut side we'll have the same 2-to-1 ratio. Now it's asking me what do you want to make the pad elevation. So you typically hold a standard pad elevation. You could go around and actually put elevations on each one of your little nodes there, and you can put ones in the center here if you want to make a crown, and sometimes they'll do that so rain will fall that way or this way or that way or that way. You can design it that way. So I'm going to just come in here and put 2850 is what I want the elevation of that to be. So it's going to go through and automatically design what that looks like for me and tell me how much cubic feet and cubic yards that it will need to do. So it's going to have to cut this much and then fill this much. So it seems like a lot more cut, a lot less fill from that aspect of things. But I might want to balance that so I don't have to move earth on or off my pad. So you want to record this in your lab, but I'll just hit exit right here and say yes, I want to redesign it. And I want you to balance the cut and fill. Hit yes from that standpoint. And you could put, well, I want you to get as accurate as you want, or you could put 10 cubic yards. 0 is fine. Alright, and so now it's going to go through there and redesign that to where it has the optimal cut and fill scenario. So now you can see that I am cutting the same amount that I'm filling. So I won't have to bring earth on or off my pad. Very common from that standpoint. That looks really good. I'll hit exit from that standpoint. Now it wants to know if I want to redesign my pad again, if you want to try again and again and again. I think I'm done, so I'll hit no right there. And then you can see the contours are all sloping down here, so I'm cutting into the hill there, and I'm going to have to fill over here, so I can actually make the contours meet what they really look like. So I'll say yes, let's update those. Now it's going to take off and do quite a bit of work to try to now trim all those out and run. So just let it run for a while and it'll come back here shortly to you. Okay, you will see now that it's completed, and it's changed the contours around, running around the property as you see from there. It's got all the 10 model that it had to create, and it's asking me, do you want to contour the pad? And I'll say yes, and what that means is it's going to cut out these old pads that are there, alright, and we'll tell it to do all that, set all the interference. You can write a triangulation file to go backwards if you want to keep that. That's useful if you need to ever put in the elements of adding that to your contractor. So let's go in here now, freeze this layer and get rid of the layer here. Alright, so now we have these ones that are the older ones in there. You can we could have told it, oh, I want to delete those, but you can physically go in there and delete those yourself by just highlighting them and hitting delete, and it will get rid of these old polylines that were representing the contours before, and that works out really well. And you just drag and drop them, it'll highlight them and get rid of them from that standpoint. Okay, so now you've made a pad here, contoured it in, if you will. I'll get one more right there, and it looks really good. If you want to, you can also look at it in 3D. Alright, so let's try that. Okay, so if you want to see this in 3D very quickly, you can just go up to View and then 3D Viewer and then say Drawing. Down below it's saying select the entities. Again, just drag and drop a rectangle across there. Once you get through, you can hit enter. Alright, and so it'll now launch the viewer. Alright, and in here I have color by elevation, so you can color the elevation. You might want to exaggerate the vertical a little bit. Let's put it at 4, and then I can tilt it left or right. Let's tilt it away from ourselves, and then maybe spin it a little bit this way, then rotate it that way. And now I can zoom in, and you can kind of see where I have the fill on this side and the cut into here. So it balanced it out by cutting earth here and filling the earth over here from that area, and built my pad from that standpoint. And the nice thing is that you can take some grabs of that and see that and show that to individuals of what that's going to look like, and so that they will have an understanding of, when you're designing a pad, that all that information is there and they can look at it ahead of time. Alright, well, if you have any other questions, good luck, and carry on.